You know, I don't want to be a hindsight Harry, but if I were a Jets fan, I simply would not have put my faith in a 40-year-old quarterback that just tore his Achilles. Now, I could be wrong in that. Maybe it was a good idea to have a little faith. Maybe they needed that. But looking back, doesn't seem like a great investment on my part for old Aaron Rodgers. And I do respect the fact that he does mushrooms. I think that's cool. But like
he does ayahuasca.
Yeah, or ayahuasca or whatever he does. But I don't know, Trey. How do you feel about the Aaron Rodgers adventure thus far?
Jake Paul also does ayahuasca, so like I feel like that unfortunately has discredited ayahuasca as a narcotic. I don't know, man. If you want to take it down, it could be this on Friday night. You know what I'm saying?
True.
You know, I'm glad the Jets suck. I want them to be terrible forever, and I think it's great that they put their faith in a 40-year-old quarterback who just torn his Achilles.
I mean, like, once you get to a certain point, you put your faith in anything if you're a Jets fan. And you're just hoping something comes out of the shit. So
they only have.
I just become a sunglasses inside guy.
I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Those
specifically.
I think I'm going to try it out. I really do. You know, fluorescent lighting is pretty bad for you.
Yeah, true. Very true. That's why I record in the dark. Do you see my background?
I thought that was just because you were sad.
No, I just always record in the dark because Aaron Rodgers told me that light is bad. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Totally Biased Music. It's Blake, Anthony, and Trey, and today we are reviewing Lucid Living by Entangled Mind and Friday Night Lights, the movie. So, Anthony, album pick, Trey, movie pick. Anthony, why don't you give us a little breakdown on why you picked Lucid Living by Entangled Mind?
All right, so Entangled Mind, bass music, psychedelic down-tempo producer, has kind of been making the rounds, for a handful of years now. And this album it came out earlier this year, but first time I was able to be on board with an Entangled Mind album when it dropped. They actually did a listening party on Bandcamp, which... if folks don't know about Bandcamp, that is probably the most efficient way, besides ticket sales and merch, to support artists directly. So highly encourage you to go check out Entangled Mind's Bandcamp. But this album is right up my alley. If you like the Random Rab album that we did a while back, of course, Tipper, Mindex, but other artists like Beats Antique, Plantre, Earthcry. If you like those artists, then this album will likely resonate with you in some form or fashion. It does kind of hang out in the down tempo, mid tempo range, but it takes journeys into Goa trance and all sorts of instrumentation and vocals on this album. So I figured it was a pretty safe pick, but I wanted to bring it to the podcast because it resonates with me. So very excited to talk about it, get y'all's opinion, and hopefully turn some people on to Entangled Mind.
Yeah, and before we go into it, so the kind of a brief breakdown. The first paragraph of the Entangled Mind Bandcamp, or the Lucid Living Bandcamp link, says Lucid Living is a vibrant and immersive journey through psychedelic bass and down tempo. In contrast to Entangled Mind's debut album, Eternal Motion, a more introspective and melancholic work. This latest offering explores new territory with confidence, finding the joy in moving through a dynamic experience of intricacies and peculiarities. That I didn't say that right.
That's a challenging one.
Yeah. But yeah, Trey, what did you think? Had you listened to Entangled Mind before?
I have listened to Entangled Mind, Blake. Thank you for asking. It's a sunglasses inside guy. This is how I talk now.
Yeah.
But no, I've seen Entangled Mind a handful of times. They played a really special set in Asheville last spring, where to tenor us through this event where it was an event that was trying to focus more so on the visual artists as the headliners, with the DJs kind of more so providing a soundscape for that. So everyone dressed up really nice. It was at this really nice theater called the Diana Wortham Theater, which typically hosts plays and things like that. So everyone dressed up really nice, and you were kind of encouraged to sit down throughout the music. Entangled Mind set was pretty difficult to stay seated through. They did a great job of keeping it down tempo. They understood the assignment, but there were some moments, and it was cool listening back to this album where I was that is a similar moment to where I wanted to stand up. And this is fucking sick. So yeah, no, I've been familiar with Entangled Mind. I think I saw them at Tipper and Friends at some point as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, good music. Really excited. First off, I wouldn't say it's a. Would you say it's a safe pick? I wouldn't say it's a safe pick necessarily. It's very
No,
enjoyable. Like I
no,
think you knew we were going to like it, but
that's how I. That's what I meant by safe
yeah,
pick.
I figured.
It's
But as
like
far
I'm
as
not
like
throwing major
things
curveballs
for
with this.
as far as things are getting other people like to attention, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a safe pick. I think it's a pretty unique one. So
Yeah.
respect it. Glad that you grabbed it, and happy to get into the album.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
What about
will
you?
say so. I don't know if Entangled Mind plays World of Warcraft, but the entire time I was listening to this album, I had a vision of going through a zone in World of Warcraft called Teldrassil, and I'm going to show you guys what that looks like so that you can do this journey with me. This is what the entire zone of Teldrassil looks like right here.
Oh,
And this is all I could picture the entire time I was listening to the album, which is a good thing, by the way. But it's all stuff like this, like very foresty colors, things of that nature. And so that's like, that was the vibe I got, was just walking through Teldrassil and listening to Entangled Mind. And by the
fuck
way,
yeah.
just so you guys know, World of Warcraft's birthday is on Saturday. Turns 20 years old. Just want to throw the plug out there. But yeah, this was it was a blast, man. I really enjoyed it more than I thought I would. This music is kind of hit or miss with me. We've had this discussion before, but I think it's growing on me, and I think that Lucid Living is very digestible, and it just there's an ambiance to it, a vibe to it of just like nature and trees and Teldrassil, man. I'm telling you, it's all I could think of. And like, it's just such a, I don't know, it kind of transports you to a different world. I thought it was super unique, and a lot of great sounds, a lot of crunchiness, a lot of instrumentals. It was a good mix, and I thought that it was very, in terms of this type of music, like, I think it is digestible. So I think that, if I were to pick between giving somebody like a Tipper album that's never listened to this type of music or Lucid Living, I would probably pick Lucid Living. Like, to me, it just is kind of more of a digestible sound. And maybe that's just bias, right? Like, I just really enjoyed it, so that might be it. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. So I thought it was a good pick.
Yeah, I think it has. First off, it's super clean. Like all the
Agreed.
instrumentation in this album is super clean. The production's very. I mean, it's crisp. But it's like world music with this kind of experimental bass, like hybrid kind of approach. I mean, it's very environmental music. There's a lot of ambient sounds throughout it. Whether it's, I was listening to it with my dogs downstairs last night, or four of them, and I mean, there were many times that they're like, cocking their head up and like even like almost like trying to figure out where these sounds are coming from, because it's very familiar to them too, right? But we're inside and they don't hear birds inside typically, so that was a fun experience too. But yeah, so I mean, very elemental, and I would agree with that approach, Blake. As much as I probably would give people a Tipper album first, this is the one to get them hooked on first, to then feed them Tipper later, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get into top tracks. Anthony, you start us off. It's your album.
All right, so I'm gonna go in ascending order, starting at number 3. My third top track is the last track on this album, "A Sunny Spot." It's beautiful. The flute instrumentation, handpan instrumentation throughout this album is just so beautiful, so healing, so meditative. And I love how this album ends, because it takes you on a journey, and I think it's really well done as far as the structure of this album. But to end it with such a breathing, refreshing kind of open the doors after a late night show to get the sunrise kind of feeling, it's very warm. So "A Sunny Spot" is my number 3 track. My number 2 track is "Breakthrough." It's 8 track on the album, but it's so slow and so heavy, and just, again, the way that they blend vocals with sub bass, neither one is overpowering the other. It's very complementary. So super impressed with that track, "Breakthrough." And my number one track is probably no surprise if you know me, but like when you mix hand pans, sub bass, and a didgeridoo together, like that is my just if you were to take a track out of my dreams, that's what it is. So number two, or the second track is my number one is Orbit. I mean, I just wrote like wet, this track starts off wet, and then to hear that kind of to hear that didgeridoo kind of resonating, it's just like things I hadn't heard before. Not I can't recall an artist, and like I said, Plantre, these guys use violins, Emancipator use violins too, and it's like that. There's a lot of string instrumentation and a lot of brass instrumentation too. But like when you add didgeridoos to the mix, like I'm on board. So like when they had the listening party on Bandcamp, when we got to number two, because I was indecisive if I was going to purchase the vinyl or not, and by the second track, I was like, all right, this is a done deal. Like it's that track in itself sells the album for me, but it still fits in so perfectly. So Orbit is my number one track on the album.
Nice. Trey, what do you got?
All right. So I have, for my number three track, I have Seventh Sister, the Seventh Sister rather. I think that the song makes a lot of really bold choices. Like the drum patterns are really interesting. Like they'll follow through on these like different, like it'll be like a snare hit, and then all of a sudden that becomes like the main like timekeeper of the drum pattern, and then it'll switch into like more of a bass vibe. I'm going to talk about Seventh Sister again later, so I'm going to hold some thoughts there. But yeah, I think the song is really, really unique. And then for my second song, I also have a Sunny Spot. It's very ambient, big time vibe. The flute is beautiful and like very like well tuned in. Like all the woodwinds that are in this are fan-fucking-tastic. Like when you said it's clean, like you were spot on with that. And then my number one song is The Tree of Life. And you know what's something very interesting about Tree of Life? So the violin in it is amazing. Do you know who the violinist Matthew Rennick is?
Is he Emancipator? Does he play with Emancipator?
No. Matthew Rennick is the violin player for Sacred Hollow.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So when I was listening, so I just listened to the album. First off, I listened in my car driving through the swamps of Florida on the interstate, which is a perfect place to interact with this.
True.
Just very swampy, like, it was like kind of overcast, not like super sunny or anything. So like, yeah, the bass resonates a little harder, I think, in the swamp as we've known from Sewanee.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I saw Matthew Rennick and I was like, that's the same name as, because I've met him a handful of times because Alex King, is from Birmingham. And
right.
He was like best friends with Ryan. He's great homie. And so I've met Rennick a handful of times and I was like, that's the same name as the violinist from Sacred Hollow. And I was like, there's no way in hell there are two Matthew Rennicks that play violin. And all due respect to Alex and his songwriting and his guitar playing, like he is phenomenal in his own right. But Sacred Hollow, for me, to go on a tangent, like Sacred Hollow exists. Like what makes them that next level up is Rennick. Like he is a phenomenal player. And like whenever they get him going on like a solo or whatever, like it just really, really steps up. So yeah, that's my number one track. I mean, the violin over her beats sound really fucking sick. And yeah, that's it. That's what I got. Blake, what's up with you?
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah. So for number three for me, I had how would you say this opening track? Ossicle?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, so
like almost like oscillating, but it's just an ossicle, like one oscillation.
Right. So I picked Ossicle because this was the first song I listened to. It immediately transported me into that world, into this world, and I was like, this feels to me like, I don't know. I knew I was about to go on like a journey, right? And it just put me in a certain place, and I didn't know what I was expecting, and so it was kind of just like having that ability to kind of transport my mind somewhere instantaneously I thought was really, really cool. So it was a nice starter to the album. Like, hey, this is what you're about to get into.
You're
almost
such a
like
slut for the first track of any album.
I know.
You're
It's
a
make
first,
or
you're a
break.
first pick slut, dude.
It's make or break, man. It's gotta be. You gotta start off on the right foot. Like you gotta put a good taste in my mouth.
It's fair.
It reminds me of like, you know, with the old the OG Mario game, like 64, where you're jumping through the painting and like you're now in a world and a new soundtrack kicks on. Like,
yeah,
that's ideal. You know, I mean, just like to be transplanted to that place.
And then my second one was Ghost Pipe. So Ghost Pipe, oh man, dude, this is some get down shit. Like it's getting raunchy, it's getting weird. You know, there's a certain artist we used to see who I'm not going to mention, but there were moments prior to that artist coming on where you were in arenas and they weren't utilizing all the production that was going to be used. So it was dark, right? But it was still like a lot of these artists were playing dark, kind of shifty, heavy music, and you're in the dark. There's not a lot of lights. There's smoke everywhere, and people are just getting the fuck down, right? And there's a lot of like, there's that anticipation building, and I think like that's where I go when I hear this song. Is just like I just picture being in a dark arena, just getting down with some friends. So that's instantly where it transported me. And then my top song is also Tree of Life. So what I like about Tree of Life is like it starts off slower and there's more instrumentation to it, right? It's not like I thought the whole song was going to be like this. Like it's not crunchy, there's no big drop, but then, you know, later on in the song it does drop into some more the sounds that are in this album, right? The crunchiness, the weirdness, the up-tempo side of things. So I just really liked it. I thought that was a sick fucking song, and it really like the first three tracks. I mean, Obstacle, Orbit, Tree of Life, like
Bangers.
Orbit's a honorable mention too. Like a Sunny Spot's an honorable mention. Like there's just so many good songs. It's really hard to pick three, but yeah, Tree of Life definitely number one for me.
Hell yeah. So, you want me to go ahead and kick off?
Yeah.
Bottom?
The harder part, the bottom one.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I have that disorder where you can just find good in a pile of shit, right? So, but this album has nothing that stands out that is just like, oh my gosh, I can't listen to this. It's definitely not that at all. So, my only thing that I'll bring up as far as bottom tracks go, and it's at the end of Seventh Sister. So, Seventh Sister has the first kind of like Goa trance section of this album. There's another one in Ghost Pipe, actually. Goa trance is that really heavy tribal sped up drum beat. It's just like a zoom taka dum taka dum taka dum, right? And it just goes, which is super cool to experience live. And Spangle does a lot of that live too. But in this setting of listening to this album, I struggle ending a track on that kind of rhythm. So that's my only like gripe, if you want to call it that, is just ending Seventh Sister with that kind of Goa trance ending. I think if it goes to one more development, whether it's a downbeat or just something that kind of coast, then this album is like literally perfection. But that's my only issue. Like I said, I couldn't find much more.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Trey ripping the shot at Tequila. Trey, what do you got for bottom?
So yeah, I kind of agree. And just to go back on the positive side before I hop into my negative, this album does a great job of like balance, which is something that I think a lot of like is lost on a lot of bass music producers, especially the sound designy ones. Like some people like Resonant Language can get so caught up, I think, in like making really cool sounds. They don't do a great job. And I like Resonant Language's music, but you know, this is just like kind of nitpicking.
Right.
They don't focus kind of on the melody side of things. And it's like, it's an artistic choice. And for this just hit really well for me, but going into that balance. So Seventh Sister, I don't know if I've ever done this on the pod, but it is both a top and a bottom track. Yeah. And it's because of that techno hard style, not hard style, but that like techno little breakdown. That's just not my sound. And for the same reason, I also have Ghost Pipe.
Yeah.
For a bottom one for me. I just don't vibe with that. I went to Club Space one time in Miami, just like a guy that wears sunglasses during the day would do.
Yeah, 100%.
and it was like techno night, and dude, that was the most aggressive dancing I've ever seen people do to like electronic
That
music.
sounds
Like,
awesome.
Like
it was
crumping,
terrifying. Yeah, dude, it was not fun for me. And we were like, we want to be here because like it's kind of a vibe, but this music is not it. But we pushed through it till like 4 a.m. The things we do for love. But
right.
Anyway, yeah, so that's just not really my sound. But it's interesting because like there's so many bold decisions throughout that track, and then I'm like, right when they started into that, I was like, oh, this might I might like this, and I was like, I don't, like I tried.
Yeah.
So those two songs aren't the best for me, and then I also have what is the Creation. I just don't really love like the super like the airy vocals and stuff like that, and like the desert dwellery like kind of. It just reminds me of something that I don't really like as far as like, I don't know, that type of music. So don't love that song. But everything else is going to be, dude, this shit hits on some speakers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have Bose in my speakers like I'd like to, or in my car. Excuse me, I don't have Bose sound system in my car. You do.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, so Bose sound system, if you really want a quality sound system for your vehicle, you're going to want to go with Bose, okay? So if you don't have Bose, I would go to your local Bose shop and get some installed in your vehicle.
Because I want to be a Bose Bros so bad.
Yeah, Bose Bros right here. Bose, please. Yeah, it does. I mean, it hits for sure. Like there's just so many crisp sounds, man. There's just so many like interesting. Just it tickles your brain in a way, It's super interesting.
I think that to me, you expressing those words, tickling your brain, I think that is like the sign of what I call like a super producer. These folks who are they're technicians, but they know how to hit frequencies that are going to affect your nervous system. And even just with headphones on, in a dark room, this album's going to transcend to other worlds, and I think it's beyond a great example right here of that. So love that.
Yeah.
My only bottom like moment, I guess, is also in Seventh Sister. I think it's just like, I don't know, the song, yeah, it's just kind of like, it's a little jarring to me. Like there's a lot happening and a lot of switches, like, changes in sound and things of that nature. I don't know. It was just like, I know there's a purpose to it. I know there's a direction to it. To me, it just felt like chaotic and not like pieced together properly. But it's definitely a song that could grow on me. Just compared to the rest of the album, like, I don't know. It was just, that's the only dull moment for me, if you could even call it that. So other than that, I mean, I don't have anything else.
And I would be curious to know, because like the Seventh Sister sounds like a title of a thing, of a something, right? And I didn't look into it till I just Googled it right now. And
is it witch related?
It looks like the first thing that pops up when I type in Seventh Sister is a Star Wars character.
What Star Wars character? Who is it?
Seventh Sister. It's not like.
Oh, that's the Seven Sisters. They're like a group of like they're fucking Sith lords. It's like a bunch of women.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It looks like it's from an animated Star Wars kind of spinoff. So yeah, so I don't know if that's factual or not, but it might make sense if it is kind of in like a battle like context, But
yeah.
Shit, there we go.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah,
maybe just not. I think the sound for us necessarily. We're
yeah.
not there yet.
All right. Well, let's get
maybe
into
live though.
rating.
If we all catch ourselves.
Yeah, true. Fist bumping. Anthony, what do you got for a rating?
All right, so this album gets a solid 9 from me. I want to give it a 9.5, but I don't know. It's just one of those things, but solid 9, beautiful album. Love to listen to this thing just regularly, whether I'm picking tracks out or listen to it all the way through. It never fails to just do things that I feel it needs to, or that I don't even expect, and I just love the after effects of an album like this. So 9 out of 10.
Hell yeah. Trey, what do you got?
I think this is really something special. So I'll be peeping any Entangled Mind releases going forward. I'm also going to give it a 9 out of 10. Like, one thing I kind of also want to highlight is the way that there's certain tracks, it's like certain facets of the song are like competing for your attention, and it's like your mind is
Entangled.
So in a way, Entangled Mind is almost an onomatopoeia.
Interesting. I don't think that's what onomatopoeia means, but it's still
not
very
really,
interesting.
but it kind of is. You know what I mean?
Like, I don't even think even remotely. Yeah,
no,
definitely
not
not.
close.
Right. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought about that line in the
say,
car driving here, and I was like, I'm gonna work that in somehow, but I wasn't really sure how, and I did not stick the landing.
Well, did you mean
it happens?
Like it's a double entendre, right?
Yeah,
so like
that's what he meant.
It is.
But
It's
like
a double entendre.
Onomatopoeia would be like
Basically,
describing these tracks
like
where it goes
sounded like if it was saying the word entangled mind over and over again.
Right.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about, Trey, is one of my no. This is one of my favorite aspects of head music is that you can mentally take different paths following sounds, whether you follow, a bass line throughout the chorus or you follow the synth waves, or just the instrumentation. It's selected. It's like choose your own adventure listening is the way I kind of try to describe it. But I think Entangled Mind is like that encapsulates it, so fuck yeah.
Nice.
I am giving it a 9.5. This album fucking bangs, dude, and the sounds are awesome. It's very cool. It's very digestible. I feel like I hear a new sound every time I listen to a song. Like, yeah, this is good shit, and I, like Trey said, more Entangled Mind when it drops, I'm fucking there. So, and I don't know, there's so few people in my life that listen to this type of music, so it's like I don't know who I would even show this to, but I'm glad I have you guys, you can jump on board and talk about it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, man. I thought it was fucking great. So solid pick.
Hell yeah.
Do we have anything else we want to talk about before we go to Rides or Dies?
Yeah, well, check out Entangled Mind on the road. They're performing all over the place. Primarily, I think they're based out of North Carolina. Is that right, Trey? But I know they play in Colorado a lot.
I think they've got to be from around here because I was thinking about that, like how they got Riddick on that track, and they're from Riddick. He's from Nashville, so
gotcha.
I'll look that up.
Well, either way, yeah, catch Entangled Mind on the road because these songs are obviously bangers in your car or in your headphones, but like in a live setting too, surrounded by human bodies, it's a damn good time, and I can't wait till their headlining shows. I assume they are having headlining shows, but like I want to see Entangled Mind with a big crowd, a big sound system, dark room, lots of space.
Yeah, that would be tight. All right, well, yeah, go check out Entangled Mind. That was Lucid Living. Sorry. So yeah, I thought it was great. Let's get into Rides or Dies. Anthony, you lead us off because what the hell is going on here, man?
All right, so.
I thought you were making a joke about how me and Blake were being indecisive. I thought that's what you sent. So
no, I'm going to give you a lot of backstory on this song. So, which one did I pick? A City So Nice.
A City So Nice.
Not even a song. But the artist is Dion McGregor. Now, I strongly debated on playing this song live on the podcast for y'all to just listen to and get y'all's reaction straight up. But y'all have both listened to it. Before I explain any further, what do y'all think is happening in this track, or like just what are your initial thoughts about what it is? Because then I'll shed light on it in a second.
It sounds like a guy arguing with himself, or it sounds like Blake when he's had about 17 beers and he's really mad at me,
right?
Not like something I can't control.
Right?
No offense.
I don't know. I mean that's definitely fair. Yeah, I don't know what the hell is going on here. Like, okay. I thought it was maybe like the intro to a moment of a movie or a television show or something. Like, I don't know what the fuck it was.
Once again, I listened to this thinking you were making fun of us, and I couldn't find your actual Rides or Dies.
Oh, okay. Well, so not making fun of you guys at all. So here's the story. Okay, so y'all know I paint records, so I get a ton of vinyl just from all different sources, right? So this record came across my palette. It's called The Dream World of Dion McGregor. Now, you search this record on Discogs, and it's like $200. It's worth like $200. People are selling it for. So I was like, wait a second, what is this? So I listened to it, right? And it sounds like a bunch of just gibberish, or it's like half narrative, half like what is happening type of thing. Reminded me a lot of when you talk to people who are balls deep in an LSD trip. They start talking in loops and it kind of builds to a climax and it's like, what the fuck is happening? So then I'm looking deeper, and this track is a recording of a guy who is sleep talking. He talks in short narrative form, and it's so interesting because there are tons of tracks like this that are narrative, and then they kind of build to a point and then it's like over. It's like a person like jolting themselves awake. So I got so much, just like it was just so interesting to me. And then also there was such limited information out there on this guy Dion McGregor. So like you're hearing in this track ambient sounds from New York City. Basically, he's being recorded in his New York loft, so you're hearing sirens and fire trucks and things like that. But this track is also interesting because he's talking about all the different places in New York City. Like, you want to go here, you want to go there, and then it just kind of spirals out of whack. Which again, I think it's so interesting to compare this mental dream state with a lot of people who take psychedelics, because there is something to this. I think there's some similarities with it, whether it's just talking in loops or having like, marble mouth kind of speech patterns. But to tell you the truth, it could ride or die. I just wanted it to go into your eardrums and then get y'all's opinion on it. So, so what do y'all think? Does it ride or does it die? Or does it dream? Because it can dream, right?
Oh, that's not the name of the segment, unfortunately.
It's not.
Okay, so conceptually it rides after you've explained all of that.
There we go.
I wish you maybe would have given a little more context going into it so that I would have listened to it a little bit closer.
It's okay.
Because it was one of the, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you expected us to sit there and kind of pour over the words he was saying.
The thing was, if I give you context, it changes everything. But I had to get the raw response from you to know just what did it initially do.
I think it would have hit harder if you just were like, hey, this is this really cool recording of a guy sleep talking. This is my rides or dies. And I would have been like, okay, like, that's interesting. Let's see what this is like. Instead, I came in jumble at me. Waver got scared. He was in the car. I was like, what the fuck is this guy?
Wow.
For that reason, Anthony, unfortunately, it dies. But I really think that the concept is cool. And I respect you for bringing something new to the pod and trying new things.
I think it also dies, but I do think it's a cool concept. I will say it is funny how like psychedelics, like the dream state and like your psychedelic mind state are so similar. But I also think it's funny that like there's such an eerie clarity that you get with psychedelics, but also at the same time nothing makes any fucking sense. Like, and you can't digest it until afterwards, and that's what it's like having a dream, right? In the midst of the dream, you're like, I don't know what, like, you can't decipher anything that's happening. And then you wake up and you can kind of digest what you thought it meant. And that's a lot like what being on psychedelics is like. So I kind of see the thing you're doing there. Also, I don't know if you remember, there was a time at Okeechobee where I was on some psychedelics and I ran into you and I was trying to describe the igloos that they had blown up at Okeechobee. And I could not find the word for igloo. It did not exist anywhere in the chasms of my mind. So I was trying to, and Anthony was trying to go somewhere, and I was like, no, I have to tell you this. Like, I have to get this out. And then finally, I think I was like, fucking igloos. Yeah. And I like felt so complete. Anthony was like, all right, man, y'all be safe. Like, I'm going to go ahead and get the fuck out of here.
And Blake was like, the village where the lights, it's over there. It's right over there.
Okay. Well, Trey, what do you got?
Oh, what did I send? I sent
Starburster.
Starburster by Fontaine, right?
Mm-hmm. Fontaine's DC.
Fontaine's DC, thank you. All right, so there's a little bit of backstory here. I've been watching Outer Banks recently. Let me get through this and then judge me. So, yeah, it's a little but it also is just really good story. Well, it is interesting storytelling. There's like every episode's like a little cliffhanger thing. Makes you want to watch more. Everyone is pretty attractive. It's an interesting
That's
plot.
What I've heard.
And the soundtrack for the show is fucking amazing. It's so good. Like, it's all I've been listening to for the last like week. I'm just like running this playlist, has like a couple hundred songs on it. So this is a song from that playlist. And I liked that it was kind of like Beastie Boys meets like a hazy funk, like smoking a joint, driving 60 miles an hour down a beach highway type thing. So
Is that what
what
they
y'all
do
think
in
about
Outer
that?
Banks?
Yeah, they actually do exactly that pretty often.
Cool, cool. That makes sense.
Hmm.
Anthony, what'd you think?
It was interesting. I couldn't put my finger on how I would be able to describe this music, but like starting to get like this vibe of Weezer meets like garage rock alternative kind of vibe. I don't know. It was very interesting to me. I give it a rides. I was curious to hear what Trey like how it kind of came about if you had followed this artist, but it turns out Outer Banks. Where can I watch? What is that on? What is that show
It
on?
is on Netflix.
Netflix.
Gotcha. But
Yeah.
yeah, this song rides is interesting.
Okay,
Um,
cool. Thank you.
Unfortunately, Trey, this dies for me, man.
I do think it's gonna ride for you.
It feels like garage band Arctic Monkeys. That's what it feels like to me. It's like,
Damn.
and
Ruthless.
it just, I don't know, it didn't hit for me. It just was kind of like disjointed and just it made me uncomfortable, made me physically uncomfortable, made me want to take my clothes off. Like I needed to get out of the clothes I was wearing because it made me so uncomfortable. Yeah. So this is not my cup of tea. So it's a dies for me. Sorry,
Really
Trey.
good. That's okay. I'm not upset about it.
All right, so my song was Burn by Juice World. And listen, I'm not gonna get into a rant about, record labels releasing music after an artist has died. I think we've gone on that rant multiple times. We're all in agreement with that, so I'm just gonna leave that to the side. But I picked this song because I really like it. I really like Juice World. I'm kind of on a sad boy kick right now. But I will say, like, I picked the song because it's like this was released after his death, and it's like eerily predictable, like him predicting his own death, and it kind of breaks my heart in a way because there's a line towards the end of the song where he says, I fell asleep too deep that one time, woke up to your cries, girl, I'm fine, but I lied, I dreamed I wasn't going to wake up this time. And it's like so clear that he was on a path to destruction, and just like he just seemed content with that, which I think is very strange. But I don't know. He's an interesting guy, interesting music, but I really like the song. So what did you guys think? Sorry, it's a little depressing. It's kind of a more depressing vibe.
Well, I didn't know where you were going with that because originally you had picked a Mac Miller track, and I thought that's what you were referring to about like what is it, posthumous release?
Posthumous. We've had
that's
this
what you're
debate
referring to.
multiple times.
But, I know, right? That's why I said that. But had I had this context to this song, I would have had a different experience listening to. Because on face value, this song dies for me. So as of now, it dies. But I'm going to re-listen because I don't know much about Juice World, and so the lyrics, that lyric interpretation shines more light on it. But for now, it dies.
Very
Mac Miller
true.
rides, though. You had a ride.
You had a rise, you gave it away, then you got it dies. I actually, on paper, I should not really like Juice WRLD very much, but I really enjoy Juice WRLD. It's almost like a guilty pleasure of mine.
Nice.
And yeah, it's everything all right. You switch from Mac Miller to Juice WRLD, two dead guys, you're little sad boys.
I don't know, man. Like I just every once in a while I get on like a Juice WRLD, Nipsey Hussle, Mac Miller, like dead artist kick, and I just sit and I'm like, man, I'll never be able to see these guys. That sucks. Anyway,
yeah. It's a rides for me. I'm always down to be sad boy with you.
Fuck yeah,
We
respect.
ride together.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, that's Rides or Dies.
Yeah, that's Rides or Dies. So now let's get into Friday Night Lights, which is a movie pick. It was the movie, not the entire television series. So Trey, you picked this movie. Why did you pick this movie?
All right. So first off, I picked it because we're coming off of Moneyball, and so I was like, let's kind of compare and contrast. Because as far as like a more artistic sports film goes, those are kind of the two leading movies. I love Friday Night Lights. Upon rewatch, I forgot about some things that haven't aged super well about that movie.
Like what?
Like the black ref, like talking to them making a thing about how the refs are going to be black, and the black ref makes the call against like the white team.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, nah,
it's a period in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's like, a little different time. That didn't age super well, but for the most part, I think the movie's great. I think the relationship with Tim McGraw and like his son's pretty like interesting, and like the whole thing where like they're on the side of the road and like he's like shithouse drunk and all that stuff, and then the kid walks out and slams the ring on the table. Like that's an impactful moment. If that didn't wrench your heartstrings a little bit, I don't know what does. But yeah, I've actually read the book too. The book's great. Friday Night Lights is great. The series kind of took a lot of these characters and just expanded on them. Like
Yeah.
they made them different people, but it was like the same idea. Like the quarterback in the TV show, like the quarterback got hurt rather than the running back, and they like showed him for 4 seasons, like his arc, and then kind of the same thing. Instead of like a drinking dad, like one of the players had like a drinking brother. And,
Yeah.
So the series is really good too. What'd y'all think?
Anthony?
Yeah, I love this movie. I mean, I could probably, I mean, I could quote it. I can tell you moments about it. I mean, it was such an impactful time of my life when I first saw it, because I mean, Boobie Miles has a big injury, an ACL tear, and I had one, and then a couple other, just to kind of two up Boobie Miles, right? But no, I mean, it's a beautiful movie. It's beautifully shot. I think it also came out, during our kind of high school time, or right before high school, and we got to live a lot of this movie. Like where we grew up, Pelham. It's not so different than Odessa, Texas, but like the idea being football is very much celebrated by the entire community. So I think it does a really good job of expressing that, communicating that, and then yeah, the football scenes are actually like comparative to Moneyball. Moneyball had some shots where it would be like just an isolated picture with everything kind of blacked out around it. This is showing you like the impact and the balls being. I mean, it's like very, very well done from a sports documentation kind of approach to it. I think Peter Berg is a great director, and I think does a solid job with this one. And the use of explosions in the sky throughout the film. And the soundtrack to this film is phenomenal, But I do love the way that they build upon that track throughout the movie too. So,
and
yeah.
I do want to hear a little bit more about how Blake felt about explosions in the sky after seeing the movie.
Yeah, there you go.
Because that was kind of his thing.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this movie, man. Like here, I remember thinking like,
you just hate me. You hate me.
No,
if you hate me, that's fine.
I just remember thinking like this is too long, because it's like over 2 hours, and I was like, this is a lot for like a football movie to me, and like I'm not super into football in the way that I am other sports. I thought
like
there was
baseball.
Yeah, like baseball and basketball mostly.
I know basketball, but like I just find that interesting.
But like I did think there was some really interesting moments where, first off, like why is that character's name Boobie? But when Boobie like
it's
goes
a real,
to
this is a true story. Yeah, this is a true
that man's
thing.
name.
Oh, I didn't know that.
On that man's literal name. Yeah.
The real Boobie Miles is in the movie too. There's a lot of like real folks in there.
But like I do think like one of the best scenes in the movie is when he goes to the doctor, and the doctor's basically like, you got to stop playing football. Like, this is not good. And he just refuses to accept that. And like, and his dad like is of no help whatsoever. His dad's like, yeah, like let's just fuck off and get out of here, and you can keep playing football. Like, I think it's such an interesting scene because it's pivotal in the movie, but also like that's got to be so many kids' lives, right? Like especially in Texas or in the South playing football, like they don't want to give that up, and they truly think like, that's my goal, that's my dream, and the idea of like, hey, you're gonna seriously hurt yourself, like they don't even care about that. It reminds me of I don't know if you guys have seen The Gambler. I know that we wanted to talk about it at some point with Mark Wahlberg, but
that'd be a great movie pick.
Yeah,
if everyone do that, because I haven't seen it in forever.
There's a basketball player in that movie that basically is like, he tells Mark Wahlberg like, I got a knee. Like I need to go pro. Like I have a knee. I need to make my money because this knee is not going to last. And it reminded me of kind of that same mentality of like young kids kind of pushing their bodies to a point that is not sustainable. So I thought that scene was powerful. And like Anthony said, like the football sequences are great. Like that part's awesome to me. And I think my big takeaway from the movie was like, I could not watch a 5-season show of this, but like I did like it, in its context, I think in the movie form,
Well, if it helps, Blake, I mean, there's a ton of notable faces in the series. I mean, the head coach, Connie Britton, is in there. Jesse Plemons is in there. Taylor Kish is in there. I mean, it is phenomenal. And I think
And it's also a lot more dramatic. Sorry,
a lot
didn't mean
more
to cut you off,
dramatics.
Anthony.
I mean,
It's a lot more
everyone's
dramatic. It's a lot more spaced out. I think you would like the show.
Maybe
It
I
might
might
be a
give it a
little too high
shot.
school
I mean,
for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like I
Well,
said, it will give you. I think if this movie didn't give you a nostalgia factor, I think that the series would. But it is it's like a 5 to 7 season undertaking, but
yeah.
it flows well.
Quick aside, I just want to say, like, I know there was an idea of us talking about the Penguin, and I don't know if you guys have been watching, but I'm on like episode 4. Trey, have you been watching?
I watched the finale 2 days ago.
I was
That
gonna ask when it ended. Yeah, okay.
That show is fucking sad, man. It makes me sad. Does it get less sad as it goes on, or does it get more sad?
Not really. No,
Oh,
it kind of gets more
no.
sad. Yeah,
I told
it's
Amanda
very Matt Reeves. Like it's very sad.
after the 4th episode. I told Amanda, I was like, I gotta turn on Family Guy. Like, I can't watch another one of those right now. Like, we're gonna have to take a day. It was really depressing me.
So did Matt Reeves direct like all the episodes, or is he just like?
I think he's a producer.
But it has that kind of dark, gloomy atmosphere.
Yeah,
Yes.
they kept to the vibe of the Batman. You should watch it.
I was waiting on it to be done,
And
so then I can.
I think the Penguin is going to be the main villain in the next Batman. I think. I think
I read.
No, I heard.
No,
I heard he only has a few scenes in it. Like, I think I think they're trying to keep it very separated from the movie. Like, they want it to be in the same world, but he's not going to be the main villain. Also, one last thing, Trey. I think we need to bring back Trey's terrible Twitter takes, man.
I was thinking about that the other day, actually.
I miss it, and I don't. And Anthony was shocked when I told him this. I don't have Twitter anymore. I deleted my Twitter.
Trey, do you believe this? How much of this do you believe?
Which I
He
also
deleted it. Like, did you delete the
app?
It's gone. The app's gone. The account's gone. And I did this after the 2016 election as well, by the way. So
we know it could come back, right?
Yeah, it could come back, but I don't have it. And so I need you to update me on the shenanigans of the Twitter world, man. Like, even if it's just a few tweets a week, like
it's
just
terrible, but I'll try.
Yeah.
It's gotten bad. It's gotten bad.
Nice.
Bad. A lot of different vibes on Twitter since Trey's Twitter takes went away. So
yeah, that's very true. All right, well, next week, I am the album and Anthony is the movie.
Yeah.
So I texted Trey. I was going back and forth with what album I wanted to pick. Man, it was really difficult. But I'm going to do something that I think will evoke the best conversation, which is the Blueprint 3 by Jay-Z. Not 1, not 2, but 3. Very controversial Jay-Z album. So interested to hear y'all's take on it. Trey, I know you haven't listened to it in a while, so don't make a face because you never know. Fresh years, a lot could change.
That's the album.
I bought that CD one time.
What's the song? I got a million ways to get it. Choose one. Okay.
Yeah,
that's on that. All right, I remember that album. Okay.
All right, Trey, Anthony, what's the movie?
Okay, so I told you guys I had some time to think, so I was gonna throw something at you. So I'm gonna give you 2 choices. All right, one, I'll tell you the title, and then the other one will be the mystery. So we have 2 choices. One is The Substance. I'm not gonna make you watch it, but if y'all want to, that option's there. And then you have your mystery box.
I'm going mystery box.
All right, Trey.
I'm gonna ride with Blake. I'm gonna go mystery box.
All right, beautiful. Okay, so this mystery box, it is a. Well, we got 3 more weeks till we get. No, just joking. It's worth watching. Shout out Substance out there. It's gonna win some awards. So anyway, this what we're gonna watch. It's a 1-man show. It's called In and of Itself. It's on It's on Hulu. I'm sorry. It's like a storytelling stand-up. Production. I don't know. It's hard to describe what this thing actually is in words, but I've seen it once and it stuck with me for so long, and I can't wait to watch it again. But I love how it opens up with the instructions specifically for Blake Poljasic. He says, Blake Poljasic, turn off your phone and pay attention.
Interesting.
But I think it's going to be very interesting for us to talk about it. It's a pretty thought-provoking kind of experiment thing. But yeah, so In and of Itself, Derek Delgado.
Cool. Man, just use your full legal name.
Yeah, if people didn't know, they know now,
Yeah, right.
Don't dox me.
Yeah, right.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed. Anthony and Trey, stay on the call after I end this because we got to chat about something. big things coming for the TBM world, everybody. That's what we're discussing. Big things. So, all right. Well, it was a blast. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed. Sorry for the week hiatus. That was Trey's fault. We will see you guys
Sorry about
next
that.
week. See ya.
See ya.
Peace.